Ha! This is the Berserker Blothar of the rock band GWAR. And you are watching Heavy Consequence.
All right, so the name of the album is The New Dark Ages, and considering everything that's going on with like COVID and all the wars and all of the shootings and kind of just being a person who exists now, it seems like it's definitely an appropriate like title and stuff to talk about on an album.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is one of the first times that we have coordinated the release of a graphic novel with an album. And we were working on the story for the graphic novel. And in the graphic novel, there's a sort of alternate universe where all of the conspiracy theories and things are true. And just in the course of researching all of that, I discovered, wow, this time period it's really a lot. It's very familiar. It's a lot of the same things that happened during the Middle Ages. And, basically you have a new means of communication, which is causing a lot of problems in the world. You have a lot of the conspiracy theories that are animated or repeated right now by groups like QAnon. These are rooted in anti-Semitic theories from the Dark Ages. So, and certainly the Dark Ages were marked by plague and disease and famine and war. It was a bad period. So yeah, it really looks like, and not only that, but also natural disasters. That was a part of the Dark Ages as well. So it really looks like we're repeating this again. So we made that the theme of the album, and we already had a couple of songs that went that way. I mean, we had a song called New Dark Ages that was about it. And then we just sort of expanded that idea to cover, a lot of the material on the album. It started to shape up that way. So we went with that title.
So, okay. So the idea for, that's in the Duoverse of Absurdity. Wow, me tripping over the words. How absurd of me to do that. But so the idea for that kind of came first, and then you shaped the album around that, or were you kind of thinking about wanting to do a combo thing in general, and that's just how it happened to play out?
Yeah, that's more like it. I mean, we had been working on these things at the same time anyway. And I mean, and we let one influence the other, which is something, I think that's the part that we hadn't really done before, was, we took topics that were mentioned in the graphic novel and wrote songs about them. And then we took songs that we had been working on anyway for the idea of the album, and really allowed the narratives in those songs to show up in the graphic novel. So it definitely went back and forth. And it worked out pretty well, because we have a great graphic novel that tells a story that stands on its own, and then we have an album that stands on its own, but they really do work well together.
I would say so. And I was actually curious about that as far as I guess like how much direct involvement like you and the rest of the band had as far as like what the illustrations look like the layout, and how exactly the plot was going to be like carried out in the novel. Is that something that like, you like went to the creative team and you're like, hey, this is the idea that we have at it? Or is it something that like you and everyone else was like, with each page, like super involved with?
Well, actually, to be honest with you, GWAR has a long history in comic books. And GWAR has, way back in the very beginning of this band, the way that I first came to know the people who started GWAR, the two founders of GWAR, who were the human thralls, of Odorous Urungus and Techno Destructo,
Mhm.
Dave Brockie and Hunter Jackson. The
Yeah.
way I knew who they were was from the comics that they drew. And so they were both very accomplished comic artists, and the band has always had a number of people in the band who drew and wrote comics. So when Z2 approached us, we were like, that's cool. We're excited to work with all these hotshot artists, but we also have some guys right here who can draw it. And so Ballsack, the Jaws of Death, working with the human thrall of Sawborg Destructo, worked together to create this story. And we wrote it. I mean, we wrote the entire thing, and then we did the basic designs for the layouts of the pages, and then we hired some really great artists to come in and work on some pages, and then some pages our guys worked on. So it was,
Oh, whoa.
yeah.
Okay, that's tight. And also I guess I didn't expect that. Like I knew of the like comic affiliations, but I like that. That's tight. Do you think y'all will do another like graphic novel at some point, or just a straight up comic book?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, GWAR is always going to do comics, and hopefully we'll be back into. I mean, that was one of the many good things about the pandemic.
Right,
Besides so many humans dying, was that we had an opportunity to work on some things that were not live show related, right? I mean, we got to do some work on the comic, and also work on video, that's always been a part of GWAR, and so we're trying to bring some of those things back.
Tight. I like that. So I know you had said that when y'all were working on this kind of, I guess, like concurrently, you already had a track called The New Dark Ages, and it's such a like epic opener for that album just in general. But how do you feel like it kind of sets the tone for the rest of the tracks to follow it?
Well, it's funny because, I played bass guitar on this record. So it sets the tone with, it's my favorite bass line on the record because it's so stupid. Really sets the tone for the album. You're going to hear a lot of musical stupidity on this record. Yeah, I mean, that song, it's very typically GWAR in that it doesn't really sound like anything else. It's got it's a heavy hard rock freaking song that I just love. But then obviously it's got this part in the middle, and it's so funny because some of our fans, they hear it, the middle part of that section or of the song, we kind of lay out, okay, everything's going to shit, but GWAR doesn't care. We're just going to kick our feet up and drink a mimosa and watch the world burn to smithereens. And so we got that little party part in the section where we, take your boobies out and put them on the glass and all that stuff. And it's just a good time rock and roll moment.
Yeah.
And we use some auto-tune on it, right? Because it makes sense for GWAR to discover auto-tune 25 years too late. So we found it and we're like, oh, this is great. So we, out there, so we put them on there. Yeah, man. And it's so funny because the fans are like, can you believe they used auto-tune? It's like, of course we use auto-tune. It's ridiculous. Why wouldn't we use it?
Right.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, like T-Pain or like someone will be like making a guest feature on the next GWAR album.
I hope so. I would love for T-Pain. T-Pain he's a great singer. That's the funny thing about it, is that he's so good at singing and that he chooses to do all that ridiculous stuff to his voice.
Well, we all do ridiculous things in our own way.
We do.
But we're throwing it out there now in the ether. T-Pain, if you see this, you got to hop on a GWAR track.
Come on, T-Pain. You know you want it.
See? I'm also curious about Berserker mode, because that's definitely like, in my mind, kind of like your theme song. But was that kind of the intent, or?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we needed a song that was telling the history of the Berserker Blothar. And a lot of the characters in the band have had that. So I wanted an origin story and something to explain who Blothar is. So it's a fun way to do that uh, in a song that sounds like a sort of mashup of classic heavy metal and
Oh yeah.
Lothar. Yeah, I'm just singing about being a crazy Viking berserker and taking lots of psychedelic drugs. And there was a lot of research that went into that song too. There's some kennings in that song. Can you believe it? A kenning. That's a
Henning.
yeah, kenning. That is just a sort of Norse poetic device. Uh,
Oh.
yeah. So there's some heavy duty stuff. GWAR is not just for dum dums.
It's for smart smarts.
Smart smarts too. That's why we have Billy Shakespeare on the record too. That's right, Sir William Shakespeare. I don't know if he was a sir. Was he a sir? He probably after he died, they made him a sir.
Yeah.
Hopefully they let him take off that big, ridiculous frilly collar too.
I like the collar.
Yeah. I have to wear something like that whenever I go to the vet. So I won't lick myself.
Right. Because the horns don't block you enough.
No, I have to wear a cone of shame so I won't lick myself.
Well, so I'm going to be thinking about cone of shame for the rest of the day now. But I was curious as to why, I guess maybe y'all or you felt that this particular album was a good one to have the Berserker, like Blothar origin story on it, like, and how maybe that plays into what y'all are talking about with the rest of the songs.
Well, I mean, yes, certainly in the graphic novel, there's a lot about the Berserker Blothar.
Mhm.
So and some of the origin story of the Berserker Blothar, and without giving away too much of what happens, because I know how much people get upset when you give away things that happen.
True.
Just so ridiculous. Anyway, no, okay, fine. I won't spoil it for you. But let's just say that we find out who the Berserker Blothar is and why he knows how to do certain things like go berserk and gain powers and all that stuff. So it made sense to put that story on the record as well.
Okay, I see. Something else. So it's been stuck in my head pretty much since I first heard the record and like reviewed and stuff, but Motherfucking Liar is like a GWAR bop, if we could just coin a term specifically for GWAR tracks.
GWAR bop.
GWAR bop.
Yeah.
So now that's what I call her, GWAR bop. But is there like a specific person or maybe who inspired that track? Like, who is the Motherfucking Liar to Blothar?
Well, see, the Motherfucking Liar, that's the great thing about the song is that it could be the absolute loss of truth. That, I mean, every time you turn on the television, you're looking at a motherfucking liar. Or it could be that, your lying ass boyfriend showed up at the arcade with his girlfriend that he said he wasn't talking to anymore. Then, I mean, that's the great thing about it. Everybody's a liar. That's the whole thing, is that people just can't stop lying. We all lie. We do it all the time. Some of us are better at it than others. But definitely there's a theme on the record of the loss of truth in general. And so Motherfucking Liar plays into that idea. That's really what it's about.
I got it. Actually, I was about to lie to you just now by saying I'm not a liar.
No, of course you're a liar. We all lie. Everybody does.
All right, fair.
Lie just to make the world go around.
Is it really going around though at this point? Like,
I don't think so. It's just still. It's dead still.
yes, in the big black ether of space or whatever is going on.
Moves
Who
once in a
knows?
while when I fart, and that's it. I propel the entire world around the sun with my farts.